Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PackHub's latest packaging webinar, Sustainable Packaging Innovations. My name is Paul Jenkins, founder and CEO of ThePackHub, and I am your host and presenter today. We're all covering a number of packaging innovations from the PackHub's Innovation Zone and Patent Zone platforms. But before we do that, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes introducing those unaware to the PackHub and our services. At the heart of the business is something called the Innovation Zone, which is a packaging innovation platform, and we'll hit 12,000 global packaging innovations next week. We've increased the number of initiatives we're loading each week to 35, 7 a day, and these showcase from packaging concepts through to launch products that you might see on a supermarket shelf or online. It very much provides a global perspective of the packaging industry and is fantastic in terms of new product inspiration and just keeping up to speed with what's going on and what your competitors are doing. We have a sister product called the Patent Zone, and we recently went over the 2,000 innovations barrier. This is a platform that doesn't feature every packaging patent that is published, but focuses on those that are most interesting and inspiring, those that you could look at and think, oh, we could do that, or there's an idea there that you could that could develop into something else. So that's the Patent Zone. We've just launched a new service called Innovation Plus. This is our next generation packaging innovation platform. And we're really excited about this. We've announced our most valuable service ever. Innovation Plus combines our gold standard services with even more powerful industry leading tools. So scan that QR code for more information. We recently announced a collaboration with Valpak, Pack Ready, which is an innovation and design support service. The Pack Ready brings together two sides of the same challenge. Our partnership brings together the PackHub's global packaging innovation databases with Valpak's expertise in compliance, recyclability, and carbon assessment. So the result is a more informed way to move from initial ideas to packaging solutions that are validated, practical, legal, and ready for market. And that's a summary of all our services. Excited to be announcing the launch of our 4th Packaging Startup Awards from the 2nd of September, I believe. Winners will be announced at Packaging Innovation Show NEC next February. And we've also got our Brand Owner and Retailer Summit, which is on Tuesday, the 29th of September at the Bike Shed in London. Okay, let's look at some packaging innovations. As always, we've clustered these innovations into 5 areas. They are refill and reuse, bio-based materials, reduction strategies, recycling and recycled content, and paperization. Now, this will be very familiar to you, as these are the sort of 5 main sustainable packaging trend areas of recent times. Now, I thought I'd do something a bit different today and do a quick poll to see what impact which sustainable packaging trend is having the most influence on your business. If you could answer that now, it'd be quite interesting to see. Obviously, PPWR and EPR and regulation generally is very much influencing our moves forward, also competitor activity, but also what consumers want. So, for example, paperization may be a trend driven by consumer demand. Let's give that a few more 30 seconds or more. Very pleased that no one said none, not applicable. So there is a trend out there that is having the most impact for the audience. Just let that run a little bit longer. And I can commentate because the numbers aren't going to massively change now. So not surprisingly, recycling and recycled content has had and is having the most impact on your business. I think that's reflected in our innovation zone platform. From memory, I think about a half of all the initiatives that we're posting in recent times are related to recycling and recycled content. The next most is sort of neck and neck, really. Actually, in fact, it's a tie for second between reduction strategies, so that's lightweighting and monomaterial developments and cost saving as well, really, and paperization. So 1 in 4, 1 in 5 attendees now, paperization is the biggest consideration. So that's a really interesting fact. Bio-based materials is still really conceptual alongside refill and reuse. I mean, I guess you wouldn't expect refill and reuse, unless you're a refill and reuse business, to be the most having the most influence on your business. But I think that's quite interesting. And as part of the outputs, we'll share those stats. So thank you very much for contributing to that. So the first of the 5 trends is refill and reuse. What I've got now is, I think, about 8 initiatives from our innovation zone and patent zone platform. So refill and reuse continues to be an important long-term packaging innovation area, driven by a number of factors. The need to reduce single-use, once-only packaging, potentially to cut carbon impact, and generally support circular economy goals. The trend is moving beyond early pilots. We've seen a lot of those into more structured commercial models, but we're still not really seeing mass adoption at scale. So a lot of the examples that I'm about to show you are still at the early stages of commercial development, and they're not necessarily mass big sellers, so to speak. There's so many challenges with refill and reuse. You need to understand deposit rates, consumer convenience challenges, cleaning logistics, reverse supply chains, hygiene assurance. Cost is obviously a massive consideration. Consumer behavioral change is also important. Return rates. If you're not getting 80-90% return rate, then it's just not viable from a cost or environmental point of view. So there's lots of challenges here. We've been following this market, well, since we've had the innovation zones, 10 or 11 years. So we've seen its growth, we've seen its change. And there's some really interesting examples that I'm about to show you. So the first up is from all the way from Sydney, Australia. So Liddy have developed a reusable silicone beverage lid. So not cup and lid, just the lid, designed to fit multiple cup types and sizes, reducing the requirement for disposable takeaway lids, whilst allowing consumers to continue using, I guess, the single-use paper, ceramic, or glass cups that they would get from a coffee shop. So this is manufactured from food-grade silicone with recycled plastic components. The lid incorporates 2 integrated sealing rings that enable it to fit a range of standard takeaway cup sizes. I guess the challenge here is, challenge back to Liddy, is this solving the right problem? Yes, it's reducing the amount of single-use plastic lids, but is the most obvious sort of next stage of this is a full reusable system, bring in your own cup, or whatever that might look like, rather than still having a single-use cup in this situation. Next up, we move to France, and this is Le Petit Marseillais, and they're a personal care brand owned by Kenvu, and they've expanded their packaging strategy by introducing flexible Doypack refill pouches for their shower products across Europe. The refill format is designed to use at least 50% less plastic than the brand's conventional rigid plastic bottles. I think one thing I didn't mention at the beginning, and I don't always mention, and I should, is I've shown you 5, or we're going to be discussing 5 sustainable trend areas. They are not mutually exclusive. If you had a Venn diagram, you would have a refill solution that also delivers reduction. It might deliver biomaterials. it might deliver paperization. So a lot of these examples don't just fit in one category, and this is a good example of that. So the refill format is designed to use, following the consumer adoption of the shower product refills, the company has also extended the refill concept to its hand wash range with larger refill format. So what you're really doing here is replacing single-use, a lot of single-use plastic with less single-use plastic. So you've got these pouches which are of a lighter and have less material. So we're also requiring the consumer to decant their product into the dispenser. Next up is from our patent zone, and apologies for the mispronunciation of this Chinese company, Zhongxiang KU plastic packaging company, and they've developed a wet tissue pack designed to maintain moisture levels over extended periods of use and storage. Now, the wet wipe market has lots of challenges around sustainability from a product and a packaging perspective. So they're tackling this from I guess one of those sustainable challenges is that the product can dry out and no longer be fit for purpose. So the key feature here is a built-in liquid reservoir system that can supply additional moisture to the tissues, helping prevent them from drying out when the pack is used infrequently. So this is sort of a packs for those that situation when you have a wet tissue pack that's sat in the cupboard for sort of 6 or 9 months and it still works fit for purpose when you reuse it. So yeah, it's just a concept. It may not be commercialized, may not be viable, may not be too costly or whatever, but I think it's important to show patents. The ideas alone can maybe sort of, you might see this and think, oh, we tweak that, we could do something else with our product maybe. Next up, we go to Australia again. So back to Sydney, and a business called Bound have developed Loop Lock, which is a reusable closure designed to provide airtight resealability for existing flexible packaging without requiring changes to the original pack design. So this is an additional. This Bound product doesn't come with the pack. It is bought separately, and is used in conjunction with the flexible packaging. Loop Lock allows consumers to roll the open end of a flexible pack around the device before securing it with a click mechanism to create an airtight seal. One thing I haven't mentioned, which I should have done at the beginning, so apologies, is please get your questions in. We'll have some time towards the end for me to answer any questions. And if I'm not able to answer the questions on the spot, I'll do my research and come back to you as part of the meeting outputs. The next is from Meadow, which if you're a regular to the webinars, you'll be familiar with Meadow and the great work they're doing with their capsule technology. This is Lekker company. Lekker is one of only about 3 or 4 Dutch words that I actually know. So I think it means lovely or delicious. My colleague Ton will be very proud of me that I actually know more than one Dutch word. So the Lekker company are based in Utrecht, and they're working with Meadow. The innovation replaces conventional plastic bottles, typically used for liquid personal care products, with a can format designed specifically for dispensing non-carbonated liquids. So what I like, this is a great, what stands out here is the design. That is a beautiful looking pack. I love the fact that they've used a different and established pack format. We're still using some single-use packaging, but of course it's infinitely recyclable. So Meadow have done some great work expanding their solution to various different products. Next, back to the patent zone, and this is Craft Industries from the US, and they've developed a smart drink container that uses sensors and electronic controls to automatically operate a liquid valve within the lid. Now, this may sound a little bit over-engineered, and maybe it is, and maybe it isn't the most sustainable solution we'll ever see, but the key feature of the invention is a sensor-controlled opening and closing system that can respond to user presence or other detected conditions without requiring direct manual valve operation. What that means is that the valve can be opened easily without consumer intervention. So obviously for pack accessibility challenges, this could be an absolute game changer. Now here we have a packaging startup. The PackHub is a big supporter of packaging startups. We've got our startup awards, and we try and support them as much as we can. This is Hecit Packaging, an Italian engineering company, and they've introduced a pneumatic return system, a PRS, a patented infrastructure designed to automate the collection of reusable and recyclable packaging through the use of controlled airflow rather than conventional mechanical transport systems. Of course, refill and reuse and packaging innovation generally is more than just the pack. So this is a sort of showing the supply chain opportunities. This eliminates the need for belts, conveyors, and other moving mechanical components. And the last one in this section of the first trend area is from Fredriconi Self-Adhesives. And this isn't the first time we've seen this type of solution, but this is a permanent pressure-sensitive adhesive developed for the wine and spirits packaging sector with the aim of supporting both bottle reuse systems and glass recycling processes. So I suspect the vast majority of instances will be for recycling, but it's good to see that this technology is, the vision is that it could also be used for reuse systems. So a bottle can go back, be cleaned, and the label removed easily. Okay, next up is bio-based materials. I remember from the poll, it was second from last in terms of primary focus. So bio-based materials does continue to grow as a development area. Lots of university type developments. The trend includes things like renewable sources from plants, agricultural residues, seaweed, algae, fungi, starches. So lots of different sort of developments being created. Where it's getting some traction, I think, is for things like barrier. So companies like Zampler and Kelpie and Nopler are doing some really good work with bio-based barrier material development. It's getting less traction for when you just replace a plastic pack with a seaweed-based pack, because you've got all sorts of challenges around cost and efficiency and supply chain, getting the product inexpensively and stuff like that. So there are still lots of developments going on, and they're certainly worth reporting. So the first up here is Ocean Saver, and we've reported on these before, but they're introducing a plastic-free cleaning spray bottle developed in collaboration with Shellworks, who are another familiar company to the PackHub's network. The bottle is manufactured using Shellworks' proprietary Vivoma material, which we've seen a number of iterations of this now in the market, which is produced using the fermentation of plant-based feedstocks and bio-based waste. The biomaterial was designed to replicate the performance characteristics of conventional plastics, whilst biodegradable, composting under home composting conditions. Now, the challenge there, if it looks like a plastic pack, what do consumers do with it? So it's really important that, in this case, hopefully on the back of the pack, because it's not on the front, that it's very clear what the consumer should do with that bottle at the end of its life. Next up is a company called Zero with a One. That makes sense. They're based out of Paris. And again, we've seen lots of these molded fiber packaging material solutions. This is a non-wood biomass feedstock, including fallen leaves, hemp herds, agricultural residues, and European bamboo. I'm immediately a bit of an alarm bell in terms of potential food contact challenges about using things like fallen leaves. I don't know how they get around that. But the company aims to provide an alternative to conventional plastic packaging, virgin wood pulp-based fiber materials, and other bio-based packaging by utilizing locally available biomass resources. Next, we go back to our patent zone, and this is Maché and Maché in France, and they've developed an edible pack made mainly from fruit and vegetable puree that can be consumed together with the food it protects. Now, for the last 10 years or so, it's probably reduced in occurrence, but we have tracked edible solutions in the past, and where are they? So they're not really in the market at any great scale. So there's a real challenge around hygiene and consumer communication and the like. So the key feature here is that more than 90% of the packaging material consists of fruit and or vegetable puree, allowing the pack itself to become part of the food experience rather than a separate waste material. Now, the big challenge here is hygiene. It needs to be protected somehow before if you have an apple, you will wash it, for example. We need to understand how that works. But it's interesting to see how edible solutions are still coming, or at least are still being developed. Here we go to Japan, and this is Kyushu University, and they've developed a biodegradable food packaging material using pumpkin peel as the raw material, with the aim of improving the performance of fiber-based and other food packaging applications whilst reducing dependence on petroleum-based plastics. Pumpkin peel is an agricultural byproduct representing around 10% of fruit's weight. So it's processed by heating under high pressure, followed by a cooling and freeze drying process. The particles provide antimicrobial and UV blocking properties as well. So we often see that with biomaterials, that they have an additional antimicrobial benefit as well. Here we have Greenamore Ventures from India, and they've developed they're claiming to be a both biodegradable and compostable lipstick container made from discarded coconut ore waste, blended with plant-based biopolymers, providing an alternative to conventional plastic cosmetic packaging. Now, that could not look more different than a conventional plastic cosmetic pack. So that's one of the reasons it stands out, is that it looks so bio-based, if you like. The fibers would otherwise have limited commercial value, and they're collected, cleaned and ground into fine particles before being combined with plant-derived biopolymers. Now, this is not going to be a cheap process. So this is obviously the costs for doing this are significantly more, I would suggest, than the packaging it replaces. But maybe with a price premium, consumers would be prepared to pay that extra. Back to the patent zone, and we go to China, and this is Hangzhou, and they've developed a bio-based oil-resistant paper designed to improve protection against grease and hot oil in food packaging applications. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this section that where bio-based seems to be winning is as a barrier, and this is another good example. The key innovation is a dual-layer barrier system, whatever that means, that combines sodium alginate and chitosan coatings to create a more effective oil-resistant structure on a paper substrate. So this is like when you talk about the Venn diagram, this is actually sort of paperization in reality. So as well, so they're making paper packs are more of a reality by improving the bio-based barrier. Next, we go to Spain. So we really are traveling all around the world at the moment. So this is Futuralgal, and they developed and manufactured both primary and secondary packaging using seaweed recovered from beach wrack as its main raw material. So rather than using cultivated seaweed, the company sources seaweed that is naturally washed ashore and subsequently collected through routine beach cleaning activities. Now, that's a really interesting way of collecting the source product. There have been challenges before about seaweed-based products about taking up sort of space in the ocean or whatever, but this is obviously part of the cleanup process. So that's a really interesting, albeit niche, solution from the Spanish market. Last up, before we move to reduction strategies, is from Yom Beauty, a cosmetic company based in the UK. And they've introduced packaging for its lip-safe lip mask that incorporates a familiar business to PackHub's innovation zone, Sulapack Solid, a fully bio-based material developed by Sulapack, who are headquartered in Helsinki. The package design, known as the Pebble, combines a food-grade glass container with a bio-based spatula and pearlescent lid manufactured from Sulapack Solid. So what we have here is really is a bio-based material, so it still has glass included. Challenges around separation and recycling, I would suggest, but it is reducing the amount of glass and other materials in that solution. Right, next up is reduction strategies. So lightweighting and reduction, they remain core packaging innovation priorities as we all look to cut material use, reduce carbon impact, reduce costs, and improve resource efficiency. I mean, we saw from the poll, I think it was the second behind recycling and recycled content as the biggest priority. And obviously PPWR and EPR is really influencing that as a continual trend. This trend is especially active across bottles, jars, all pack formats really. So what I would like to do now is, I think I've got another poll just to get your views on reduction. Just bear with me a second whilst I try and locate. Yeah, here we go. Right. So the question here is, which best describes the future of packaging innovation strategies? We have already seen most of the viable approaches. There are still many new reduction strategies to emerge. Future progress will mainly come from refining existing approaches. Reduction opportunities will become increasingly difficult to achieve. Now, of course, we've been reducing packaging for decades. You look at a PET water bottle or even a wine bottle, they're significantly lighter than it would have been 5, 10, 20 years ago. I mean, the PET bottle is the most transformational pack change in terms of lightweighting there's been. So they were actually rigid at one stage, and now, of course, they're sort of a flexible pack as such. So you sort of you got to be careful when you open the lid and squeeze the pack. The water can actually come out of the bottle. So let's see what we got here. We've had over 50 responses. And yeah, so it's sort of neck and neck between there are still many new reduction strategies to emerge, and future progress will mainly come from refining existing approaches. What is encouraging is that people are saying that only 14% are saying reduction opportunities will become increasingly difficult to achieve. So there is still plenty of opportunity out there, it would seem. Okay, just let a couple more vote. Brilliant, thank you. So let's look at some innovations. First up is Menacon, and they're from Japan, and they've introduced a packaging update for their Miru one-day Menacon flat pack contact lenses by replacing the outer shrink film with direct printing on the secondary packaging. So this is literally taking out a packaging material and replacing it with direct printing. Now, this is obviously the first time we've seen this initiative, and it won't be the last, but it's just a good example of what is going on in the market. There's no compromise in terms of the pack presentation. That looks really, in my view, premium and smart and clean. In fact, I think it potentially looks better than the shrink film. It's replacing, I guess, one of the challenges about getting rid of shrink film is anti-tamper evidence, maybe child resistance. You know, once you take out the film, that reduced. You know, there's potential safety challenges there as well, because potentially the pack could be opened and tampered with and put back on shelf. So that is a consideration. The company has installed a direct printing system at its manufacturing facility in Singapore to make this a reality, and they're saying that The change removes the need for external plastic wrapping and reduces plastic use by approximately 4.5%. Not as much as I thought it would be. Next up is from Suntory, and this is a great example of thinking outside the box, thinking outside the bottle, really, here. So we've seen a number of examples of sort of label-free beverage bottles, but this isn't quite label-free, it's sort of label-reduced. So they've developed a PET water bottle featuring a significantly reduced plastic label to decrease packaging material use and simplify the recycling process. So rather than wrapping the majority of the bottle with a conventional full body label, the design uses a small label positioned around the neck of the bottle that contains the legally required product information. Now, the challenge here is this: your packaging team will love this, the sustainability team will love this, your finance director will love this, but your brand team will hate it because it's losing. Well, in fact, it may not be losing a point of difference on the market because actually that label is quite distinctive. But what brand is this? It's very hard to see in this situation. So maybe this could work in for multi-packs when you could still, the actual multi-pack design can do the heavy lifting in terms of branding on shelf, or maybe online where the decision is made on a computer screen, but you still have that lack of branding in the consumer hand. Next up, we have another beverage heavyweight in PepsiCo, and they've developed a plastic beverage bottle with a redesigned base structure, not only intended to improve stability and resistance to internal pressure on carbonated drink packs. The main feature of the invention is a reinforced base that combines ribs, support feet, and a central dome structure to distribute stresses more evenly across the lower section of the bottle, allowing the potential to reduce overall pack weight. Now, this is not the first time we've seen these kind of inventions, but I think it's interesting that PepsiCo have patented this for potential future use. Right, here we go with a solution from Aurora Glass, again from Australia. So that's the third Australian initiative we had. This time it's from Sydney's neighbour, Melbourne. And they've introduced the AG244, a new lightweight glass bottle designed to reduce material use and lower the environmental impact associated with glass packaging. Now, this isn't the first wine bottle that's been lightweighted, let's be honest. So this is a continual journey, really. And I guess the biggest challenge for operators is how far do you go? I mean, obviously it's got to be functional and safe, but every time you make a bottle lighter, particularly for premium products, for me, I believe strongly that packaging weight is a proxy for quality, and the lighter you go, the more challenging it is to convince consumers to pay potentially a premium price point. This is a whopping 21% lighter than the company's existing rising bottle, which weighs 518 grams. This weighs 410 grams. So it's still not that light. It's still quite a heavy bottle, but they've come down 21% in this case. So the bottle is also 1.5 mil shorter and 0.8 mil narrower in diameter, and 108 grams lighter than its predecessor. Here we go back to the UK, up to Telford, and this is I2R Packaging Solutions, which will be familiar to a few of you on this call, and they developed the Dimple Base Tray. This is an aluminium packaging solution designed to replace the absorbent soakaway pads traditionally used for fresh meat and seafood packaging. Not recyclable, messy, not particularly nice consumer experience to sort of see that soaked absorbent pad. So they've completely rewritten the design rulebook and said, okay, let's do something that incorporates this dimpled effect. So testing carried out by the company indicates that the tray can retain up to 16 mil of liquid whilst providing performance comparable to conventional absorbent pad systems. The company also reports that the design delivers approximately 30% greater strength than a normal aluminium tray, potentially improving durability during handling, transport, and retail display. Here we go back to the pattern zone. This is 3M, inventors of the Post-it note and more. They've developed a pack decoration technology that creates raised textured surfaces on substrates such as paper using foamed or foamable ink compositions. The main features of the invention is the ability to form decorative tactile patterns directly onto a substrate surface through controlled foaming, which may provide some potentially fantastic visual and touch-based differentiation without relying entirely on embossing or extra material layers. So you could potentially lose a layer of material with this textured surface design. Again, this is a patent that isn't on the market. 3M are serial innovators. I suspect they patent on a daily basis. So there's a strong chance this won't come to market, but I thought it's very, very worthy of attention in today's webinar. Two more, I think, in this section. We've got, you may have seen this actually in the packaging press, and I think ThePackHub also did a news article on this. So tuna is conventionally in a sort of metal tin, and what we've got here is a solution from Mondi in collaboration with Thai Union, and they've introduced a recyclable monomaterial PP pouch for the John West Stir and Serve ready meal tuna range. Packaging innovation focuses on replacing the aluminium foil layer traditionally used in retort pouches with an all polypropylene structure, whilst maintaining the barrier performance required for ambient food preservation. Right, last up until we move to recycled content. So this is Dear Smith. And again, this actually could be a paperization example. I could have put this into the last section, but it is still material reduction. So seen loads of examples of beverage multi-packs moving from plastic into paper and reducing the amount of packaging they use. And this is another good example. So this is their lift up packaging range, a fiber-based bottle carrier designed to reduce material consumption whilst maintaining product protection, shelf presentation, and ease of handling. The lift up range is available for small and large bottles seemingly, and supports multi-pack configurations, as could be seen here. Dear Smith did do a life cycle assessment, which was reviewed by independent third-party panel, and the packaging could reduce carbon dioxide equivalent emissions by 42% and lower machine energy consumption by 58% compared with the reference packaging system. Right, next on to recycled content. Well, as we saw from the poll, this is the biggest area of development. Around 50% of all the innovations that we track in the innovation zone, at least, are recycling or recycled content based. So this is about two areas, really. Operators improving the recyclability of their packaging, and operators including recycled content in their packaging. First up is Greiner Packaging from Austria and long-time friends of the ThePackHub. They've collaborated with Orkla to develop a redesigned smoothie bottle manufactured from PET containing 30% PCR content. The new packaging replaces the previous PP bottle. So it's going from polypropylene to PET, and that PET is 30% PCR. Is that enough acronyms for you? The transition allows the bottles to incorporate recycled material whilst retaining the clarity and mechanical properties associated with PET. Next we go to ExxonMobil and LD Pack, and they've developed a monopolyethylene flexible packaging solution for frozen food. So the pack has been designed as a recyclable alternative to conventional multi-material laminate structures. The new structure uses an MDO PE configuration, incorporating Exceed Stiff Plus, Extra Seal, and Exceed HD, which are all three ExxonMobil solutions. So the design aims to provide mechanical performance required for frozen food packaging while supporting compatibility with PE recycling streams where available. Next, we go back to the patent zone, and this is Toyo Sekan from Japan, and they've developed a can lid designed to incorporate recycled aluminium whilst retaining the strength and durability required for food and beverage packaging. So the key feature is a carefully controlled aluminium alloy composition that allows recycled aluminium from used beverage cans to be reused in the can ends and opening tabs without significantly affecting performance. The invention applies to the can end, the opening tab, or both components. Now we fly all the way to South Korea, and this is LG Chem, and they've, every week there's a new monomaterial packaging film coming to market, it would seem. So this is just atypical of what we're seeing in the market from LG Chem, and they've developed a monomaterial packaging innovation called Unicable, an ultra-thin, flexible packaging film developed to support recycling packaging structures whilst maintaining functional performance. I guess the standout difference here is the material has been produced with a thickness of 12 micron, which is representing one of the thinnest monomaterial packaging films currently available. Polytag, you'll be familiar with the great work that they're doing, lots of activity on LinkedIn and events. Alice does a fantastic job promoting what they're doing. And they partnered with Multicolor Corporation, MTC, to integrate Polytag's ultraviolet UV tag technology directly into MCC's mold labeling packaging. The collaboration is designed to expand packaging traceability by embedding visible UV identifiers into IML packaging, allowing products to be recognized throughout the recycling process without affecting the pack's appearance or functionality. So watch your space for more activities in that area. The pharmaceutical industry has continued to tackle the challenge of blister packs and their lack of sustainability, lack of recyclability. And this is CSP Technologies based in the US, trying to tackle that by developing a blister pack structure made from recyclable materials together with associated manufacturing and recycling methods. So the pack includes a flat backing layer and a cover layer containing one or more blister cavities used to hold products. The cover is adhered to the backing so that the product remains enclosed whilst the blister structure during storage and handling. So we're seeing a number of recyclable or recycled content, in this case, blister pack solutions coming to market. And this is obviously still in development because it's at patent stage. Here we have Flatantic, they're an aquaculture company based from Portugal, and they've adopted fish boxes made from recycled EPS, developed by BEWI, headquartered in Norway, to pack and transport fresh flatfish, transport fresh flatfish. The packaging innovation is designed to maintain food safety and preserve the quality and freshness of seafood during transport, while supporting the company's approach to reducing material-related environmental impacts. The boxes are manufactured using expanded polystyrene, produced from a combination of recycled and virgin feedstock through a certified mass balance process. Excuse me, and last up in this section is Pure Cycle Technologies. I saw a presentation at the Packaging Recycling Summit in Chicago a couple of months ago from Pure Cycle. Very impressive solutions here. They have working with IPL to collaborate to develop a polypropylene tubs and lids containing 25% post-consumer recycled material for food contact applications. The packaging uses a Pure Cycle's Pure 5 recycled polypropylene resin, which is produced using a dissolution recycling process that separates and removes colors, odors, additives, and other contaminants commonly found in post-consumer plastic waste. Last but not least is paperization, and I'm going to give you a rest from me talking and an opportunity for you to answer the following question around paperization. What do you think will happen to the paperization trend over the next 5 years? It has already peaked, will begin to decline. It will continue to grow, but at a slower pace. It will accelerate significantly. It will remain broadly at its current level. Okay, well, most of the votes are in, and it would seem that we, as an audience, the vast majority see that paperization will continue to grow to some extent. 1 in 3 think it will continue to accelerate significantly. So that is really interesting. I'm going to show you some innovations. I should share the results. I didn't realize I could do that. I do apologize. So that's the results for that poll. I will share all 3 poll results in the meeting outputs, in the webinar outputs. So they are the poll results. Right, last innovations. Well, everyone understands paperization and what's driving it, where it's coming from. Plastic a few years ago became this undesirable material. A number of factors came into place. Plastic packaging taxes, Planet 2, all sorts of things that were driving the demonization to some extent of plastic, and that meant that a lot of paper solutions were coming to market, and that continues to be the case. I think in the early days there was a sort of a gold rush to deliver anything paper. Didn't matter necessarily about its environmental impact. That has stopped, and the paperization examples now still need to really kind of stand up to the scrutiny of their sustainable status, if you like. So let's look at 8 innovations, and then we'll stop for some questions. So this is iGreen, and they're based out of China, and we've seen lots of these examples. This is a sushi tray made, in this case, from paperboard and bagasse material. I was in a supermarket, actually. I was thinking there's loads of, we're moving out of plastic into paper. I was in a supermarket not so long ago, and only one of their range was actually in this type of material. The rest was still in conventional material. So that did make me wonder just how much the actual market is moving, and whether it's just sort of not performative, but just some examples out there to say that it's happening. So it's not the case for every supermarket, but the supermarket I was in, there wasn't much change in this particular sector to paper. Blue Ocean Closures will be familiar to many of you here. They've been developing paper bottles for many. They haven't. They've been working with paper bottle manufacturers for many years with their paper-based closure range. This is a new paper plug range, which is an integrated fiber-based opening and dispensing concept designed to combine an internal fiber screw closure with a direct interface to carton and corrugated board packaging. The development is intended to allow fiber-based packaging formats to incorporate opening, dispensing, and reclosure functions that have traditionally relied on glass, metal, or plastic components. Here we go to the patent zone and to Italy. And in this situation, it sees a development of a paperboard container that uses a sliding lock to make it more difficult for children to open. So again, you could argue this is a enhanced user experience example, but it's still making paper packs more viable, so it can still be considered a paperization initiative. The key feature is a movable slider that blocks access to the opening mechanism till a specific unlocking action is performed. Here we have Floret. They've relaunched their vegetable soup range, not only with updated packaging, but they've also replaced their PET plastic bottles with Elopak's PurePak Sense cartons. So this is a classic paperization move, moving from PET plastic into a paper-based carton in this case. The change forms part of the company's strategy to reduce their reliance on plastic. They want to get out of plastic as much as possible. So this is an obvious move for them. The PurePak Sense cartons are designed for liquid food applications and obviously are commonly used to provide product protection whilst maintaining shelf performance throughout refrigerated distribution. Next up is Sigva, and they're based out of Germany, and they've introduced Circuit NovaSeal, a dedicated portfolio of heat seal lacquers under its Circuit Coatings brand for paper fiber-based packaging applications. The new product family is designed to provide reliable and consistent heat sealing performance for fiber-based packaging, as well as selected flexible packaging structures, so not just for paper. I think this is our last patent zone example of the day. This is an individual patent application, actually, and 3 inventors have developed a paper-based pallet that is designed to resist water and moisture whilst retaining the structural advantages of a paper construction. The key feature is a protective coating that completely surrounds the outside of the pallet, helping to prevent water from reaching the paper material underneath. The pallet is made from a paper panel that forms the load-bearing platform and paper legs that support the structure during storage and transportation. So, I mean, that's amazing that a pallet can be purely or primarily paper-based, in my humble opinion. Paper, familiar to the Innovation Zone and anyone so regular to our webinars, and they're working with BioWrap Consortium, which is a EU-funded project that aims to scale paper-based protective packaging material, Paper Wrap, to industrial production. So this isn't a new solution, but this is just demonstrating that it's going from one stage to the next. And this is about a 5-year initiative bringing together 14 organizations from a number of countries to basically get this paper-based bubble wrap to commercial success and scale. Last innovation, and then we've got a couple of minutes for questions. This is Folb, based out of Germany, and they've introduced their excellent Top Pure Oven Freeze Grease 3, a hard-sized virgin fiber carton board developed for frozen food packaging that can be transferred directly from the freezer, conventional ovens or microwave ovens. So the idea of many years ago, the idea of putting a paper-based product into an oven was unthinkable. Here we have solutions that can withstand temperatures of up to 200 degrees Celsius, 200 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes, or 220 degrees Celsius for 300 minutes. So that's 428 degrees Fahrenheit, basically. So that is hot. Okay, right. That was very much a tour de force of all the latest packaging innovations on our patent innovation zone and patent zone platforms. I'm going to have a quick look at some questions. There's a good chance I can't answer these because they're quite specific to one or two of the innovations. But let me have a go. If I can't answer, I will make sure they are included in the outputs. On the refill model, hand wash example, is the flexible refill sachet recyclable? To truly fit the circular economy, for me, it would need to be. Nikki, I could not agree with you more. Nobody should be introducing refill pouches that are not recyclable. The vast majority of initiatives that we're tracking are recyclable. I will do a double check on them. Next up is, as biodegradable are contaminated in recycling streams and currently not sortable, i.e. not recyclable at scale, do we expect they will ever pick up speed? My answer is not anytime soon. I mean, the, uh, the, the world is against biodegradable packaging in that sense, PPWR and everything is not working in their favor. And there's all sorts of challenges around consumer communication and contamination, as mentioned here. It's very hard to do a quick answer here, but I don't think it's going to pick up speed anytime soon. No, unless something fundamental changes. Concentrates is a great opportunity for lightweighting or right weighting, but as long as the carrier is recyclable end of life. That's more of a statement than a question. Nikki, couldn't agree with you more. I love this Suntory reduced label bottle. What I particularly like about it is the structural design, which is unique. What a great idea. Katie, I agree with you. There's nothing for me to say on that. And last up, because let's see how I go. What type of barrier properties are needed for paper packaging? Well, that very much depends on the application, but obviously moisture, light, potentially, all the conventional barrier requirements can be needed for paper-based applications, depending on what the paper-based or the paper solution is being used for. I mentioned the uniqueable packaging film from LG Chem is recyclable. It's recyclable under which plastic stream? Oh, I'm going to have to find that out. I can't even remember what the if it was PP or PET. I've presented on about 40 innovations, so let me check and I will report back. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention and your attendance. Our next packaging webinar will be on Thursday, the 27th of August. I suspect a few of you may be on your summer holidays. I think that's peak week for summer holidays. It certainly is in the UK, but we will be here nonetheless. So please register so it'll be 3 o'clock UK time, British summer time on Thursday, the 27th of August. We've handily got a QR code for you to scan there. And last but not least, a second opportunity to scan our Innovation Plus QR code to get more information on our groundbreaking new packaging innovation platform. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening to me for a full hour. Next month we will have a guest speaker as usual. But thank you all very much for your attention, your attendance, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. Thank you.